Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Carroll from MyMMAnews.com and Carroll's Corner MMA podcast. Tonight, I have Sam Tolan on to talk about the UFC fight card going down this weekend. Talk about a little betting, some gambling. So if you guys want to make some money, this is the opportunity for you. Sam is one of a kind. He's a savant when it comes to betting. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a blast to have you on. Now we're gonna dive right in, but before we do, um, what's a good place for people to go on that don't have anything yet, but are looking to bet and spend a little money? Nothing crazy, but where's the good options for people?
Sure. So, especially we're in New York here, it's very easy now that they legalized the sports betting. So, you can use FanDuel Sportsbook, DraftKings Sportsbook, Caesars. So, there's a bunch of different options. Most of them actually have a lot of promos still going as well. So, I know in DraftKings they had one running that if you deposit, I think it's $10, and you could place a money line bet on whether that be a UFC fight or a football game, and as long as it wins, you win $200 in free bets.
Oh, how much
So
better is that?
yeah, I mean that's great, and you could pick a minus 500, which I could talk about what that means, but a huge favorite money line to pretty much as close to guarantee you as possible a win. So 200 free dollars there. FanDuel, Caesars do similar promotions, a lot of refer a friend promotions as well. So there's a lot of ways when you're first starting to get some free bets in, some guarantee get your money back, stuff like that. So it's great.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, tomorrow night, Saturday, October 15th, starts at 7 p.m. We got the UFC Apex Center. That's where the fights are going down. I'm sure the betting changes depending on the location and everything like that
For
for the
sure.
fighters as well. And the main event is women's flyweight bout. Number 5, Alexa Grasso taking on Vivian Oreo, who's number 6 in the weight class. I guess let's slide down all the way to the prelim card and go with the first fight of the night. We got Mike Jackson versus Pete Rodriguez. Tell us a little bit about the money line right now. The odds are plus 490 in Mike Jackson's favor,
Yep.
minus 660 for Pete Rodriguez. Explain to everyone what those numbers mean.
Sure. So minus 660 would be the favorite. So you would have to bet $660 on Pete to win $100. So that means he is a huge favorite. And now if you go to the opposite side, plus 490 for Mike Jackson, if you bet 100, you win $490. So he's a pretty large underdog here. But honestly, most of the time, that's for a reason. So this fight in particular, Pete, every single fight has ended by first round knockout. The last fight he was in, he was actually on the wrong end of that one against Madalena. And but all the ones before that, his 4 fights before that, he had won by first round knockout. Now, when you're looking at Mike Jackson, he did win his last fight, but it was actually due to disqualification from an eye gouge. And the fight before that was a decision victory over CM Punk, the wrestler. And then that one was actually overturned afterwards due to a positive marijuana test for Mike Jackson. So Mike Jackson, he's 1-1. He has won no contest. And he really hasn't proven much of anything other than winning by eye gouge. That's a big reason why he's a huge dog here. Once again, Pete with all the first round knockouts, I just don't see this going any other way. If my betting money, I'm going with Pete by first round knockout. So there's different types of bets. You're not going to bet $100 on Pete because you're going to win nothing. So you have to find a different angle if you want to put him in your bets. So where I see a different angle here is him by first round knockout, and that's minus 150. So if you bet the 150 straight up on that, you could win $100. So that's at least a decent return there. Yes, it's a risk because you need it to be first round knockout, but like I said, all 4 of his wins are by that way. So I definitely see some potential there. I'm going to mix that into some parlays for sure.
Absolutely. Now I look at real quick his reach. Mike Jackson's got a little bit of 3-inch reach advantage on his opponent. He's 6'2" compared to Pete Rodriguez, who is 5'9". That's a big difference when you're striking. How
Absolutely.
much does that weigh into your bets?
Sure, that does normally. But once again, with Pete being such a big favorite here, the reach is not as important. Pete has crazy power. He's quick. He also has his average strikes landed per minute is almost double that of Mike Jackson. So he's a lot quicker with the striking, maybe not as sharp, but if he's throwing out double the amount and hitting you twice as much, it probably bodes well for him. So normally, yeah, the reach will matter, and we'll discuss that more with some different fights.
Absolutely. And then we're moving on to another one. The next fight on the card, UFC Vegas 62. We got CJ Vegara versus Tiara. Tell us a little bit about this one. How do you see this unraveling?
Sure. This one is a closer matchup, but honestly, I know what I'm going with here. I'm going with Tiara for sure. He is currently a -260 favorite. He's undefeated, 11-0. He's more of a, he'll kind of pick you apart. The fight's most likely going to go to decision here. Probably not some super exciting, flashy knockouts or submissions coming here, but I think Tiara picks him apart, honestly. His last fight, he won by decision over Carlos Candelario, which is his biggest fight to date. But before that, he did have 3 submission wins in a row. But I'm still, like I said, I'm still liking the decision here. Now, Vergara actually came in overweight by 3 pounds, which never is a good sign.
Nope.
He's also coming off a split decision win, but the fight before that, he lost to your friend there, O'Day Osborne, actually, by unanimous decision. Tyra, he's undefeated. I see definitely give the striking advantage to him. I just don't really see anywhere where Vergara is that much better than Tyra. And like I said, coming in 3 pounds overweight just doesn't bode well as well. He was a dog before the weigh-in, and he's actually a bigger dog now because of that. And what I mean by dog is underdog. And like I said, yeah, I'm going with Tyra here. I'm just going to play it safe and go with the money line at -260. If you want to go with him by decision, you can. I can actually look up those odds right now to see the difference. So money line's -260. If you want to take him by decision, it's +110.
Okay.
So $100 wins 110. You more than double up there. So that's another option for sure.
Absolutely. So there you have it. We'll move on to Rodriguez versus Hughes. We got an 8-0 versus 7-4 in Hughes. Another tight matchup, and the odds aren't really too big of a difference. -165 versus +140. Is this something you stay away from? Something you tackle?
To be honest, this is one of the ones that you have to be careful with. I definitely wouldn't place big money on either one of these fighters. Now, again, this is another undefeated fighter coming out here in Tiara, and Tiara is a great fighter. She's actually 2 inches shorter with an inch less reach, but she is undefeated. She's coming off her biggest win to date after a decision victory over Kay Hansen her last time out, which shocked some people because Kay Hansen has been pretty hyped up. And now Sam Hughes has back-to-back wins here, including a third-round knockout her last time out over Elise Reed, which is her biggest win today. So this is a great matchup. There's a reason why the odds are so close. It really is a toss-up. Now, Sam Hughes, her losses, though, have come to much higher levels of talent. She lost to Tisha Torres and Loma Lukbunmi. Great women fighters there. But here, it's one of those things where, once again, I wouldn't put big money on either one. If I have to pick one, I'm just going to go with Tiara with the undefeated record. Like I said, coming off that decision win over Kay Hansen, I would lean that way, but I would be careful with this one.
Absolutely. So we're going to slide to the next one, Brito versus Alexander.
Sure.
How do we see this?
So Joe Anderson just had a 41-second knockout over Andre Touchy-Feely, another well-respected fighter here in the UFC. But Lucas Alexander is on a 5-fight win streak here, including 3 consecutive wins by finish. The thing is, Lucas has fought much lower competition than Joanderson Brito. I'm trying to see what the current odds are on this one.
And when you're fighting those lower level skill fighters, you get to the next level. You're fighting on the UFC. That changes a lot of things when you're fighting a higher level opponent. It really
big time.
Yeah,
these guys are fighting on lower level pro leagues here. I mean, there's a reason why people say UFC is such a high level. So like the lowest level fighter in the UFC is most likely better than the best fighter in most of these other organizations. So where Lucas Alexander has won 5 in a row, he hasn't won in the UFC yet. I'm pretty sure. Actually, don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure he hasn't fought in the UFC yet. Let me take a look on that.
You were saying that I see you have Joe Anderson by knockout plus 125, and Lucas Alexander has never been finished. Is that something you think about? Like, hey, it has never been knocked out, but it's plus 125. That doesn't seem very high for possibility of a knockout.
Absolutely. So I did just double check. Yeah, this is Lucas Alexander's UFC debut. See, the thing is, that's what's crazy about this, because Joe Anderson has just beat Andre Touchy-Feely, like I said, a well-respected fighter in the UFC. So that clearly shows in the odds here. Current odds, Joe Anderson Brito is minus 365, so a pretty large favorite, and Lucas Alexander comes in at plus 300. With the knockout at plus 125, once again, Lucas Alexander has never been finished, but who has he fought? And then you have Joe Anderson, who just finished Andre Touchy-Feely in 41 seconds. So that's the reason why he's a big knockout favorite. Now, I do think that is probably the most likely outcome here, but because of Lucas Alexander never being finished, I kind of like mixing in Joe Anderson to win by decision, because that actually comes in at plus 420.
Okay.
And that, $100 wins you $420. So that's big money there. And then mixing that in with a parlay, which I know I didn't really explain what that was for people, but that's when you put a bunch of different bets together in one large bet, and it increases the odds a ton. So you could put Joe Anderson to win by decision at plus 420, parlayed with Tiara just to win at minus 165, with Tiara to win money line minus 260, and the odds will just multiply like crazy, and you could win big money that way. The only thing is, if one of those 3 people lose, you lose the bet. So that's why the odds increase so much. It's all or nothing there.
Gotcha. I always find those fun, the parlays, instead of the straight up 1 versus 1.
For sure. I love putting those big underdog, like that plus 420. Like, I really do think that Joe Anderson's going to win, but why not randomly for like $1 parlay, mix a plus 420 underdog bet in there, and your odd payout will be crazy. So it's worth doing that. Definitely mixing that up.
Absolutely. And it's Brazil versus Brazil right there in that fight.
Yep.
Now, for this fight, as I'm looking at the UFC fight card on the website, the odds, it doesn't have odds for them. So what does that tell you? Like, on their website, it has odds for everyone else. Underneath.
It was probably a late addition or something, because normally it would have the odds up there. So yeah, to be honest, I'm not really sure why they're not up there. So that's probably why.
Okay, so then we'll slide to the next one. We got Maximov versus Malcoon. Maximov is minus 125, and Malcoon is plus 105. Another close battle. You got Malcoon, who's 8-1, and Malcoon is 6-2. Both coming off losses. One's from Australia, the other's from the United States. Height's a big difference, I think, in this fight.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, so this is a very, very interesting matchup, and I've flip-flopped on who I think is going to win this fight. If this one is probably the closest matched fight on the whole card, and that shows with the Vegas odds here, minus 120 Maximov and plus 100 Jacob Malcoon. It's pretty much a pick-em here. Maximov is out of the Diaz wrestling camp out there, super hyped up. He did lose his last fight, though, in the first round by Anaconda choke, courtesy of Andre Petrosky, a great fighter, though. And Malcoon lost the decision, lost to Brendan Allen, another great fighter. So both of these guys have fought legitimate competition. They've had a bunch of fights in the UFC now. And, yeah, the height advantage should help Maximov. He's 6 foot versus 5'9". And the reach of 3 inches is pretty big, I think, here with Maximov. He has good striking, very great wrestling. But Malcoon has great jiu-jitsu as well. So this is a very, very close fight. If I'm picking one to kind of avoid, it's probably this fight because I really couldn't 100% tell you who I think is going to win. But I am leaning toward Maximov. I feel like he's super hyped up. He lost that last fight. I think he's coming back for revenge. And I'm going to go with Maximov here. And if you want to help a little bit with the odds here, you could go with him by points at plus 155. But to be honest, it's minus 120 for his money line, which he could win in any fashion, versus him to win by decision at plus 155. When the odds are that close, the safer bet is to just go with the money line. So I would stick with the minus 120 here.
Awesome. And now I don't know if you can see on the screen, I share with everyone the odds. They have the different odds. So they have the money line, total rounds, over unders, 2.5. Odds by win by KO. Odds to win by KO is plus 900 for both. Odds to win by submission is plus 500, plus 1,000. And then odds to win by decision is plus 150, plus 165.
Correct.
So winning by submission, that's probably somewhere you, or win by KO, that's probably somewhere you want to tackle, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Let me pull this one up right now. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, when you're looking at this, Maximov by knockout, and this is the UFC. So a lot of times you don't have to be a knockout specialist. Knockouts happen. This is the UFC.
Absolutely.
So Maximov plus 900 to win by knockout. Plus 500 submission, and then Malcoon plus 900 knockout and plus 1,000 by submission. Like I said, Maximov has very, very good wrestling too. So I wouldn't be surprised if Maximov won this by submission, plus 500. So once again, mixing that into some parlays, picking someone by knockout. You could just pick the fight to end by knockout, like you were saying, plus 475, throw that in there. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here to make money. But if I'm leaning toward one fighter, it's definitely Maximov.
Absolutely. So we'll slide up to the next fight. And we got Martinez versus Davis. 2 Americans going at it. Both also coming off of a loss. Same height. Davis has a slight reach advantage with 2 inches, 72 to 70. But he gives up 2 inches in the leg reach. So another interesting matchup. We got 14-9 versus 9-3. Tell us what you think about this one.
Yeah, this is another close one. This card, there's a lot of close fights. You don't see it that often when they're this well matched. And it's funny too, because there's not a lot of super flashy names for people. But a lot of times when that's the case, there's a lot of knockouts and submissions and exciting fights and great matchups. So a lot of times I'll even find myself a little disappointed looking at the names, and then I'll be happier at the end of this card than a big pay-per-view one. So it's interesting. But, yeah, in this one, once again, very well matched. I mean, very, very close everywhere. Now, Mana Martinez is much crisper, though. He is the younger fighter and very crisp boxer. His striking accuracy is at 50% compared to that of Brandon Davis at 35%. Now, Brandon Davis has more fights. He's 14-9, but Mana Martinez is 9-3. So also a decent amount of professional fights. And Brandon Davis just got knocked out in the first round against Baccaral Dana, who's a great fighter, but coming off of a first-round knockout, it could do one thing or the other. It could either kind of shock you, or it could kind of make you a better fighter and you learn from your mistakes. Now, in this one, unfortunately for him, I just feel like Mana with that crisp boxing is probably going to connect at some point here and win by knockout. That's what I'm leaning toward. That's what I've been thinking the last couple of days, and I'm still the same way. So I'm going to go with Mana here by knockout.
But I'm looking at the odds. The money line, you were saying 150 plus 130. And then I scrolled down to odds to win by submission. Martinez plus 1,200. Davis plus 650.
Yeah.
Is that something I want to tackle? Because I'm looking at the grappling. Takedown accuracy is 66% for Martinez, but the takedown defense for Davis is 56%. That's going to be one of those things that how does it end? But then you look at win by, and Davis is 89. Or excuse me, Martinez is 89% finish rate, KO/TKO.
Correct, but has never submitted.
Yep.
That's the thing. So a lot of times that doesn't mean there's not a first for everything, you know?
Absolutely.
So it could happen, but there's a reason why those odds are so big. Yeah, you can mix that in too. I don't see that being the likely outcome, but hey, it's the UFC. So
absolutely. We'll, and we're going to move off the prelims because they start at 4 p.m., ladies and gentlemen.
I think we have one more, the Victor Henry and Asuncao.
That they have moved up to the main card.
Oh, they moved it because of the
one card that you were saying earlier. Yeah, because they got bumped. So now Rafael versus Victor Henry is now up to the main card. And remember, ESPN Plus will have the prelims tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss those. They're going to be some good ones. But then, hey, let's hear a little bit about this one because this is a little bit more of a gap between these two fighters, it appears to be.
Is this the Alonzo Menifield or the Victor Henry?
Victor Henry.
Okay. So the Victor Henry fight here. Victor Henry, huge favorite here, minus 410, 22-5. A veteran of the sport for sure, but still has some in the tank here. He's coming off of back-to-back wins, and his last one was his biggest to date over Raoni Barcelos, a great fighter. And when you look at his son, Sal, great fighter. He has fought some of the best to ever fight in the UFC. He's 40 years old, so that's never great, but he's coming off of 4 consecutive losses. But those 4 losses were against Ricky Simon, Garbrandt, Sandhagen, and Marlon Moraes.
That's quite the lineup.
That's a lineup there. So, yes, you might say, oh, he's lost 4 in a row, but that's who he's lost to. But he also does have wins over Moraes, Rob Font, and current champion Aljamain Sterling. So he is legit. He is always dangerous, even at 40 years old here. Now, if I have one underdog that I'm going to go money line on, this is it. I mean, Rafael Asuncao at plus 330 dog with the competition he's fought, I think it's a no-brainer to mix it in. Yeah, sure. Victor Henry is minus 410. On paper, he should win the fight. He's the younger fighter. But if, like I said, there's one dog I'm going to bet on, it's going to be him, Asuncao, at plus 330.
Absolutely, plus 330. That's definitely worth taking. And you wouldn't take the minus 410, right? Like
no, for sure not. I definitely would not. It's just not worth it. You don't win anything. Even mixing that into parlays, it doesn't help that much. Now, if you want to look at methods of victory,
I'm seeing KO is plus 1,800.
For Asuncao.
Asuncao.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, throw $5 on Asuncao to win by knockout. $5, and it cashes $95. I mean, and that's just straight bet. That's just a straight bet. If you want to mix that into parlays too, I see huge value in that. And then when you look at Victor Henry, you're never going to take minus 410. It doesn't really make sense. But if you think he's going to win, and, you know, the veteran's going to stay in there with him the whole time, Victor Henry by decision is plus 130. So that's actually pretty good. And then Henry by knockout is plus 150. So the slight favorite is Victor Henry to win by decision. And then right after that's Victor Henry by knockout.
Awesome. And then we're going to move right up to the Canadian versus the American. Kirk, I can't even pronounce that. Serkinov.
Oh, Misha Serkinov, yes.
Menifield, yeah.
Misha Serkinov. Yeah, this is going to be a sick fight. So
this is some light heavyweight bout. This is some big boys.
Yeah, this is some nasty men here that are going to go out there trying to finish one or the other. Someone's getting finished in this fight. This is probably, now that, you know, the Askarov fight got called off, and originally, what was it, Daniel Rodriguez was supposed to be on this one?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, those were honestly probably the two best fights on the card, unfortunately. But this Alonzo Menifield versus Misha Cirkunov should be an awesome fight. Very entertaining. Now, how long will it be entertaining for? That's the question. Alonzo Menifield's 12-3, crazy, crazy power. Has been wrestling a lot too. Has great wrestling, ground and pound. But here, Misha Cirkunov at plus 165 is a veteran for sure at this point. Was super hyped up and has kind of struggled lately, to say it lightly. Cirkunov has probably some of the best grappling in the division, but he's been getting hit cleanly, and then the grappling doesn't help you very well. So,
absolutely. And you're talking about not going to go long. They have the over/under at 1.5, so they don't even think it's going to get out of.
Yeah, and it's probably the favorite to be under 1.5. Yeah, I'm going to look right now. Is it the favorite to be under 1.5? I'm looking.
It's minus 105 for over 1.5. Under is minus 125.
Yeah, so it's the slight favorite that it's not even going to last a round and a half. So it makes sense. Menifield has won 3 of his last 4 fights here, whereas Cirkunov has lost 3 in a row. And 4 of Misha's last 8 fights, he's been knocked out in the first round. Not great, especially fighting a striker like Menifield with that power. Like I said, Misha has some very good grappling. If he can get his hands on him, take him down, manipulate him, sure, there's a shot of Cirkunov winning here by submission or something, a long shot. But really the smart money is on Menifield by knockout here, and that's coming in at plus 105 odds. And then if you want to go even crazier and go first round knockout, like I said, Cirkunov, 4 of his last 8, he's been knocked out in the first round. It's plus 230. So 100 would cash $230.
You can't go wrong with that.
No. So I'm definitely going to be putting that in some stuff for sure.
Absolutely. And we're going to slide up to the middleweight bout. We got here Jordan Wright versus Dusko.
Todorovic, yeah. Another great fight. I'm telling you, these fights are very
coming off losses too.
Yes, and both with great striking. And this is another one that is probably going to – this one might be finished in the first round as well, to be honest. Todorovic is coming in at minus 210. He's 11-3. And Jordan Wright's at plus 180. He's 12-3. Now, both of them have lost 3 of their last 4 fights. Jordan Wright has never had a fight go to decision, ever. And he's only had 1 fight even make it into the second round. And the fight was finished, I'm pretty sure, within the first minute of the second round.
That's crazy.
So his fights don't go very long. Now, Todorovic is the more skilled fighter here, but Jordan Wright is a crazy man, and he'll come at you with everything. There's a reason why his fights always end very fast, because he comes at you very fast. This one is a toss-up, and I think that if Todorovic is able to weather the early storm here from Jordan Wright, he's going to win the fight, because he is the cleaner striker. He's the better all-around fighter. That's a big if, though. Now, if Wright's able to connect well here in this storm, he could easily finish Todorovic. So this fight, like I said, is ending by finish somehow, most likely in the first round. But if I'm picking one, I'm going to go with Todorovic here, hoping that he is able to weather the storm and then just use his skills to win the fight by knockout himself. So that comes in at plus 100 odds.
Awesome. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Real quick before we continue to the next fights on the main card, money line. It's not like the NFL where you have -3, +3, where a team gets points and you have to win by spread. I guess it's kind of talk about the I guess the specific ways to win and like the different things about betting.
Sure.
Something things people normally won't know that don't normally do this.
Absolutely. So, yeah, UFC betting is a little bit different for sure. Every sport's a little different. With UFC, obviously they can't have, like you were saying, the spreads like that, win by a certain amount of points or whatever. So they do money line is for the fighter just to win the fight in any way. It could be by knockout. It could be by submission. It could be by DQ. It could be by just decision, unanimous, split, anything. So that's a basic bet just on the fighter to win the fight. So in this one, for example, Todorovic is minus 210 just to win the fight. So you don't have to worry about the other stuff. Now I talked about Todorovic winning by knockout specifically, and that comes in at plus 100 odds. So it's twice as good if you hit that bet. So you bet 100, you cash 200, whereas you would have to bet 200 on Todorovic to win the fight just to get 100 back. So it's a limiting your options. So obviously the odds will be better then. So like I said, yeah, you have the option to bet them to win by knockout, by finish, by submission, by decision. All the odds change there. We were talking earlier about the rounds, the over-under. Most of the fights, unless it's a main event or a championship fight, are 3 rounds. The champion ones are 5. So the 3-round fights, the over-under, a lot of times is set at 1.5 when it's some knockout guys. So say you bet, say it's an even minus 100 odds on a guy on the fight to finish in under a round and a half. Now, they have to finish in before the middle of the second round then. So at 2 minutes and 29 seconds,
they have to be done.
Round is all you have until. So from the fight start until that point. If it's 2 minutes and 31 seconds in the second round, you would lose.
Gotcha.
It's literally that close on the over-under rounds. It's exact amount over-under 1.5 rounds. Sometimes if it's more guys that tend to go with decision, the over-under is set to 2.5 rounds a lot of the time there. So there's a lot of different options you could bet here with the UFC. And then obviously with the parlays I was talking about, combining different things. You could combine one winner by knockout, one by decision, just one money line. You could bet an over a round and a half on a different fight. So you can mix and match. It's great. I mean, there's options for everyone.
Now, I know in football, you could bet on, say, Mahomes throwing 3 touchdown passes, like individual bets within the sport. Do they do that for the UFC for, say, like a head kick or like
so like over under
like a liver shot?
Like significant strikes and stuff like that.
Instead of picking like how many, running back runs for, Marshall Falk runs for 200 yards.
Sure.
Again, he's retired, but like
there are some I don't think they offer that type of stuff on
like what kind of song they're coming out to.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain websites like betonline.ag that offer like crazy stuff like that.
Okay.
But the main ones like DraftKings, FanDuel, I don't think they offer that specific of stuff. They do for different sports, like you were saying, for football, for example, but I don't believe they offer that stuff.
Now, last night, Thursday Night Football on Amazon, the game was horrendous again for the second week in a row.
Again,
no matter how much of a football fan you are, as I am and you are, the game was rough to watch.
Terrible.
Now, I saw people this morning, betting companies, giving back money because they're like, the game was atrocious. Do you see that happening in like a UFC fight where it might be a rough one to watch, like where they're not doing a whole lot?
Sure. I mean,
too often.
I haven't seen it happen, to be honest, with the UFC stuff, but they have just recently been starting to do those type of promotions. So, to be honest, we'll wait and see. Hopefully,
is that more of a marketing thing, promotion, trying to draw?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they offer a lot of promos, so they might offer like boosted odds for Todorovic to win by knockout. Or, well, let's say this, Todorovic is minus 210. Sometimes they'll offer like a boost where they're like, Todorovic is now plus 100. So, but you have a limit to how much you could bet on it. So they'll limit you $50 or something. But they'll boost the odds to persuade you to bet it. And then if something crazy happens, like say the fight happened and then it ends in a no contest. They would probably refund that. That's a bad example. But
like a draw or something like that.
Draw, something crazy like that, they will probably do something for you. But not on that fight specifically. It'd probably be if there was a main event and it ended in some awful way and it screwed everyone over on the boosted bet. then they
DQ falls
probably
under wins and losses too, right?
what's that?
Like when there's a DQ, someone gets disqualified for poking someone in
Sure.
the eye. Does that fall under the win loss, or does that fall under a screw up? Or just kind of a
Sometimes they'll give you your money back at least on stuff like that.
okay.
It definitely depends on what platform you're on. Now, DraftKings, for example, they offer a draw.
Okay, so you can take it.
So if you take the money line and it ends up being a draw, you probably won't get your money back. Now, the draw most of the time is at plus 5,000 odds because it doesn't happen very often. It has. I've hit it before where I'm like, it's going to be a close fight. Throw $5 on it, and you win $250.
Yeah.
So it does happen, but rarely. So,
all right.
Yeah. So I do see I see that happening in the future for sure.
Absolutely. So we're going to move to the co-main event. We got Cub Swanson, a veteran, another American, taking on Jonathan Martinez. Yep. Now this fight I see is is plus 175 minus 205.
Correct.
Let's both coming off wins, both 5'8", both weighing in at 135, 70 inches, and a half an inch reach difference in the leg reach. Otherwise, Swanson's 28-12. Jonathan Martinez is 16-4. Tell us where you see this.
Yeah, this one, once again, another close fight. A lot of minus 200 and closer fights here on this card. This is another one. Minus 205, Jonathan Martinez. He is the younger fighter. He has won 3 in a row as well, but all by decision. Cub Swanson, UFC vet, fan favorite. He is 38 years old. He's been around for a long time. He is coming off of a win, but that was over another UFC vet, 38-year-old Darren Elkins.
Yeah, otherwise before that he was kind of getting beat up.
Correct. So you can't really look at the recent fight, the matchup. I liked Swanson in that matchup. Once again, it was 2 older veterans fighting. This is a different example here. Now, their stats are virtually identical when you're looking at height, weight, reach. Even striking accuracy is 50% to 48%.
Yeah.
Strikes landed per minute, 4.66 Cub Swanson to 4.72 Jonathan Martinez. So very, very close here. But I'm leaning toward the guy that is younger, sharper, has won 3 in a row. I'm going Jonathan Martinez here, no doubt.
I would agree with you in the co-main event bantamweight matchup. I would go with Jonathan Martinez as well.
Yeah.
Even the odds aren't a huge difference or gap or anything, but win by submission plus 1,200 for Martinez, plus 1,400 for Swanson.
Yeah, you should parlay some of these crazy plus 1,200s together.
I think I'm gonna have to do a couple of these. You never know. You never know. It'd be a nice lottery.
Draws together plus 5,000. Combo those.
Draws. It's so rare. Draws are so rare. You imagine I hit 3 of them.
It's crazy. You wouldn't be talking on here then.
No, damn right I wouldn't be. Yeah. Here we go. We're going to the main event. Alexa Grasso versus Vivian Oreo. Mexico versus Brazil. Minus 230 for Alexa. Plus 195 for Vivian. Flyweight. Have it.
All right, man. So, yeah, another great matchup here. Minus 230 Alexa Grasso. Plus 195 Vivian Oreo. Alexa Grasso, 29 years old here. She's coming off of 3 fight wins in a row. And Araujo is 35 years old. So she's got 6 years on Alexa Grasso. She did win her last fight. Her last 6 fights have gone the distance, and I really don't see this one changing. A lot of the women fights, they're very well matched. A lot of the times they go with decision. Yeah, you have those submission endings and the knockouts here and there. But most of the time, I like leaning toward looking at decision odds just to give yourself an extra boost here. So Alexa Grasso, like I said, comes in at minus 230 to win the fight. And her to win by decision is plus 125. Here, I think it's worth taking the risk and going with her by points at plus 125. She's going against the veteran here in Vivian. I just don't see this fight ending in finish.
They have the total rounds for over 4.5. That's
Over
minus
4.5. Exactly. That's like I was saying
210.
earlier. If the fight is leaning toward it's going to be a decision, it'll be like that. So if it was a 3-round fight, it would be over under 2.5. If it's a 5-round fight, it would be over under 4.5. Now there's also a lot of money in going the opposite way and going for a finish here,
Yep.
which they do have that potential. Like I said, not the likely outcome, but once again, mix that in here. Vivian, I mean, if you go Alexa Grasso by knockout plus 380, submission plus 650, and then Vivian by knockout plus 1200, and by submission plus 1400. So you have a lot of options here to make big money. Like I said, safe bet is Alexa Grasso. Just take her minus 230. That still could help out a parlay, but if you want to go a little riskier, go with her by points at plus 125. That's what I'll be doing.
What if they have both knock each other out at the exact same time? I have seen that happen in MMA.
I know. No, that's a great question. I honestly kind of hope that happens. That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome, right?
But
can you do so? Say I go on, log on to FanDuel, and I pick Vivian to win. I put $5 on her. Can I go back on again and then pick Alexa for $5? Can you pick the two different people in the same fight to win on the same platform?
So that's called hedging your bet right there. Okay. So that's a different thing. So say you have a parlay going all night, and the last leg of the parlay is this fight. So you have Alexa Grasso money line there. So say you hit 5 other bets in a row, and the last one's Alexa Grasso. What I do is I'll hedge my bet, which means I'll put money against the last one just in case Alexa loses. So if I have a 5-leg one and Alexa wins and I'm going to win $250 if she wins, I might just throw $50 on Vivian to win at plus 200. And then that will cash $150. Okay. So it'll kind of protect you where no matter what, you're getting $150 at the worst. So that's a hedge. So you can do that. You could place a bet and then second guess yourself, and more information comes out. She didn't look great before the walkout. Then you want to go the other way. It happens.
Absolutely.
So you can do that for sure.
All right, cool. Like, as you know, I very seldomly dabble into betting and whatnot. To be honest, I personally think it pulls away from the sports.
The experience.
Football, and the football, because I feel like all of a sudden I'm rooting against the guys I'm rooting for.
I've been there for sure, yeah.
But for someone like you, Sam, give us like your top 5 bets for tomorrow night.
Okay. So top 5, I'm going to go with, I really do love the Assunção underdog bet. I just love him as a fighter. He's a great vet. But at those odds, I love that. Am I going to put $500 on that? No, I'm not. Am I going to mix that into multiple parlays? Yes, I am for sure. So I do love that bet for the odds only. If I'm going to pick another huge, I love Alonzo Menifield to win by knockout, period. Plus 105. That's going to be in most of my stuff for sure. I'm going to mix in the first round knockout at plus 230 as well. Let's see here. The Maximov fight's sketchy for sure. So definitely don't love that one. The Tatsuro Tiara, just to minus 260. Tiara, I love that fight. Minus 260, mix that in. That's another one of my favorites.
So you're taking the minus 260.
I'll take the minus 260. I'm not going to bet that straight up. I'll mix that into parlays. If I'm going to take a straight bet on that fight, I'm going to take the Tiara by decision, which once again is Tiara by decision is plus 110. So you're basically a little better than double up. So if I'm going to straight bet, I'll do that. But in parlays, mix in just the money line to be safe. And Tiara's, I like her, but I'm not in love with that bet. And then the man of Martinez, the crisper boxer, I like him by knockout over Brandon Davis. It's a very close fight, but if I have to pick another one, I'll probably go with that. Todorovic, Jordan Wright's going to be a sick fight. like I said, I'm leaning toward Todorovic, but Jordan Wright can knock him out in the first. So if you want to bet that one, like under a round and a half, that fight's not getting past a round and a half. No way. I was really looking forward to the Askar Askarov fight, so disappointed for sure that he missed weight, so they called that fight off. Yeah, and then Jonathan Martinez. Martinez over Cub Swanson. So those are my favorite.
Awesome. Well, Sam, I appreciate coming on and giving us your thoughts, explaining the betting game to people who have never done this before, and those who are beginners in it, kind of help guide them in their way. For those watching, we appreciate you watching. We hope you try some of these bets. They work out for you. We're going to bring Sam on again before the next UFC fight next week. Get his thoughts and all.
Way better card next week. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
this card was a lot of question marks on this one. So good luck if you follow my bets. I hope they hit because I'll be placing them too. But next week will be even better.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. I'm Kyle Carroll. Sam Tolan. Thanks for joining us. This is Carroll's Corner MMA podcast. And before we shut the doors on this night's episode, this is brought to you by MMA Tees and MyMMAnews.com, your number one source for MMA news. Check them out, get some shirts, support the podcast, and go support MyMMAnews.com. I'm Kyle Carroll, and we're signing off.
Thank you.